Hello, fantastic first graders. Today we are working in science on the Unit 6 Sound, Lesson 8 Sound Portfolio. Now, this portfolio assignment gets turned in during Lesson 8, but you actually start this portfolio project in Lesson 5. That means this is not an assignment you should complete all in one day. Take your time and use at least 3 or 4 days to complete this project. All right, let's look at your lesson so we can see how we should best begin. Objective. In this portfolio, you will ask questions like a scientist about sound and vibrations. And here are both of those key words. Sound is energy that you hear, and a vibration is a quick motion back and forth. So we've got our June starting out in the beginning of our lesson, and he has a problem. Questions can come from all around you. Read about Arjun's problem. He knows about sound. How can he solve his problem? Play the video to learn more. So this is a really fun video and it's going to go over Arjun and his problem. Make sure that you watch this with your learning coach. And then think about the different items that Arjun tried out and do the activity yourself. Right down here, you're going to answer these questions and chat about this with your learning coach. Asking questions about sound. Think like a scientist. In this portfolio, you will think like a scientist. Scientists follow steps. Look at this chart and think about each step. So in your previous portfolio, you were thinking like an engineer. This time, you are thinking like a scientist. Remember, you can always go to your Science One resource book and you can see the anchor chart that helps you think like a scientist. All right, so ask questions. The first step is to ask questions. Think about Arjun. He wanted to use sound to help his friends find him. He asked questions. You can ask questions too. You can ask questions about sound and vibrations. Think about what you know about sound and vibrations. So you are going to use your science journal. It might not look just like mine, and that's okay, but I'm going to show you mine as an example. What are some questions you have about sound and vibrations? Use these sentence stems to help you. So you don't have to write these exact sentence stems, but these will help you think about things that you could ask. It says, I wonder, dot, dot, dot. How do I, dot, dot, dot. What should I, dot, dot, dot. That just means you're going to finish those sentences with your own thoughts and your own questions. So here's my example in my science journal. Ask questions. I said, I wonder what quiet sounds can make vibrations. How do I make a sound loud or quiet? What should I use to make sound vibrations I can see? So just thinking about what I have already learned about sound and vibrations, these are some questions that I had to start out my portfolio. Think like a scientist about sound. You can think like a scientist about sound. You will investigate sound. You will observe how sound relates to vibrations. You will do these things. Ask questions about the sounds materials can make. Observe how sound and vibrations are related. Plan an investigation to show evidence of how sound and vibrations are related. Conduct an investigation to collect evidence that shows how sound and vibrations are related, and reflect or think about on creating a model of how sound and vibrations are related. So you're going to use your science journal throughout this entire portfolio. Remember, we've already asked our questions. We're also going to record our observations, our plan, the results of our experiment or investigation, and our thoughts or our reflection. So make sure that you're using your science journal through each part of this portfolio assignment. How to organize and submit your portfolio. You will write in your science journal and you will send them to your teacher. Down here, there's some more information. You can look at that I Can rubric if you would like to. And here's our next objective. In this section, you will describe materials that may produce vibrations to make sound. And here are some keywords we've already seen and some new ones. Observe means to use your senses to learn more about something. Sound is the energy that you hear. A vibration is a quick motion back and forth. And volume is the measure of the loudness of sound. The second step in the science portfolio is to observe. Remember, observe means to use your senses to learn more about something. This is an important step in thinking like a scientist. You use your senses to describe what you observe. So we've already asked questions. Now we're on the second step. You can use your senses to learn more about sound. You can hear the sound. The volume may be soft or loud. You may see vibrations. You may even feel vibrations. Scientists use their senses to learn more about sounds too. Scientists ask questions, then they look for answers. To find answers, they make observations. Sound energy and volume. Sound is energy people can hear. Matter vibrates when it moves quickly back and forth. The vibrating matter makes a sound. Think about how different sounds are made. Volume measures the loudness of sound. Some sounds are soft, they have a low volume. Some sounds are loud, they have a high volume. So here we've got someone drumming, that's a loud sound, right? And someone whispering, which is definitely a quiet sound. So how can you observe sound? Think about what you might see if you plucked the strings on a guitar. So if you've never seen this before, you could also search on the internet, right? Find a little video and see what those strings do. I can see the vibration in this image, but it's still, right? It's not moving. If you watch an actual video, you can see those strings vibrating back and forth. Practice observing sound. Let's think about things that can make sounds, and let's observe what sounds they make. So here's science at home. This is a mini experiment, something that you can do just to test out those vibrations. So you're going to need small plastic cups, a pencil, and maybe some other objects, boxes, paper pads, foil, bells, rice beans. It's up to you how complex you make this experiment. So the steps, they've laid out steps just like we're going to do. Number one, look for items around where you live that might vibrate when shaken in a cup or tapped with a pencil. Place the objects in the cup and shake the cup. Tap the objects with a pencil and write down what you observe. So in your science journal, you're going to write down your observations from your mini experiment. It says, what did you observe when you shook or tapped the objects? Work with your learning coach. You could start your sentences with things like, I saw, blank, I heard, blank, I felt, blank. You're going to fill those blanks in with your own observations in your science journal. So let's do a quick miniature version of this experiment. I don't have a lot of different things to test, but I do have some brown rice and I do have a tiny paper cup. This is a nice thin one, so I think I'm going to be able to feel those things moving around in it quite well. So I'm going to pour some rice, not too much, into my cup. And it said the first thing I should do is shake it up, right? I'm going to shake it up and see what happens. So let's see. I definitely hear it. I can definitely hear that sound. I can definitely feel it too. I can feel that rice bouncing off of the cup and I can feel it tapping the sides. It's kind of like a vibration. It's in my hand, so I can't see it, but I can feel it. Right now, I'm going to tap this rice inside my cup, right? That rice is too tiny to tap if it was not inside the cup. So I'm just going to tap the cup itself. Okay, I can hear the sound of the pencil and I can hear that rice shifting and moving a little bit inside. And I can definitely see that cup. I can actually see, it's hard to see on the camera, but I can see the tiny movement, the tiny vibration the cup itself is making. That rice is making a little bit of movement and vibration on the inside too. All right, so now I need to write down my observations from my mini experiment. Let's see. Yep, so we're going to write our observations in our science journal. So here are my observations. I saw the rice move. I could feel it too, right? I heard the rice hit the cup and I felt the cup shake. When I was tapping it, I could even kind of see that small shake or that small vibration. So those are my observations from my mini experiment. Make sure you write your own observations from your mini experiment in your science journal. All right, so here are some really good questions that you can talk about and answer with your learning coach. And here's a little activity that you can do that's about observing vibrations. So you're going to drag these words up and you're going to finish these sentences. This is the end of lesson 5. That means this is a good stopping point if you want to finish this portfolio in 4 days. You can stop here for today and tomorrow you can start in lesson 6. In this video, I'm going to keep moving on, but remember, you can watch this video tomorrow and pick up where you left off. So let's go ahead and move over to lesson 6. This is part 2 of 4 parts of this portfolio. So we've asked questions, we've also done a mini experiment, and we've made observations. In this section, you will plan an investigation to show the evidence between sound and vibrations. So we are going to plan our investigation first. This is the next step in the science process. So we've already asked, we've already observed, and now we are planning. To start your plan, think about your question. What are you trying to find out? Then make a hypothesis or prediction, that's kind of like a guess, about what you will think will happen. Finally, plan out the steps to solve the problem. Remember to include the materials, the objects that you will need. Planning a sound investigation. Let's see how you can plan an investigation about sound and vibrations. So in this video, a little girl plans her investigation with her dad. So that's a really good video to use as an example. And then here are some questions you can answer with your learning coach afterwards. What is a hypothesis? And what was the student's hypothesis in the video? What observation helped the student make his prediction? And what was his plan for his investigation? Also, what tool did he plan to use to organize the information? When you're doing investigations, it's very important to organize all of the information that you find. All right, so now we are going to do that. We are going to plan an investigation. You could use sentences like these. My question is, my hypothesis is, the steps of my plan are, the materials I will need for my investigation are, and I will. So you're going to write or draw pictures of your plan for your investigation in your science journal. So let me show you what my science journal looks like for this part. It took a whole page. Look at this. I've got investigate. First, I began with my hypothesis or my prediction. I think hitting an object lightly, gently, will make a quiet sound. That is what I think will happen. My materials are a spoon, a bowl, a pot, a cup, and a plate. Similar to the materials that the little girl was using in her video too, right? Not the same experiment, but similar materials. Here are my steps. I will gather the materials. I will hit each object with a spoon. First, I will hit gently, then harder. That way I can see and hear the difference in those sounds. I will observe the sound I hear, and I will record if the sound is loud or quiet. So I have my hypothesis, I have my materials, and I have the steps to my plan. All right, so this is the last page of this lesson. It seemed kind of short, but it's going to take you some time. It's going to take you some time to gather those materials, to plan those steps, to come up with your hypothesis or what you think is going to happen. Remember, it's got to be something that you can test, something that you can prove, right? So this is a good stopping point for day 2 of this portfolio. I'm going to go ahead and go to lesson 7. And if you want to keep working and do 2 lessons in one day, that's fine too. Just don't overwhelm yourself. Take your time completing this portfolio. So this is lesson 7, and our objective says, in this section, you will conduct an investigation to collect evidence that shows how sound and vibrations are related. After you make a plan, it is time to do the investigation. That's the next step in the science process. When you do your investigation, you follow your plan. You use the materials. You follow the steps. You write down what you observe. Solving problems. Sometimes when you do an investigation, things don't go as you planned. What do you do then? Play this video to find out. Just like Juan, you can solve problems. You may need to ask questions like these. What went wrong? What needs changing? What else can I try? Then you can change your plan and try again. Here are some questions you can answer with your learning coach. What do you follow when you do your investigation? What do you do during the investigation? And what do you do if something goes wrong? All right, so here's our science journal again. Here is the conduct an investigation section. So with your learning coach, you can start with some of these sentences. I tried, I observed, I solved a problem by, and remember, you're going to write and draw what you observed during your investigation as well. And it's really important for you to organize your information. So I made a chart similar to the one that the little girl made in the video example you watched. Here's my chart. So when I conducted my investigation, I collected those materials, a bowl, a cup, a pot, and a plate, and then I also had a spoon, right, to tap. So here is what happened when I did a gentle tap, and here is what happened when I did a hard tap. So with my bowl, a gentle tap gave me a quiet sound, and a hard tap gave me a loud sound. That's what I thought would happen. With my cup, the gentle tap made a quiet sound, and the hard tap still made a quiet sound. I was like, what went wrong here? Why is it not following what I thought would happen? With my pot, a gentle tap was a quiet sound, and a hard tap was a loud sound. With my plate, a gentle tap was a quiet sound, and a hard tap was a loud sound. I tried making loud and quiet sounds. I observed less vibration when I hit objects gently. I could tell they were moving and vibrating less. I solved a problem by testing two cups. So this first cup that I had, it was like a soft papery, soft plastic like this one, right? This is a soft papery. And so I couldn't really make a loud or quiet sound. It was always the same sound no matter how hard I hit it. So I tried a porcelain, more like this, like a mug that was harder material. And that one did produce a quiet sound with a gentle tap and a loud sound with a loud tap. So that means what your materials are made of can affect your experiment. Sometimes you might have to test different materials to see. All right, so let's move on. That is how I conducted my experiment. And look, I've got a picture of me conducting that experiment as well. And your teacher would love to see something like this. They would love to see a picture of the materials you used or you doing whatever type of steps you had for your investigation. So make sure you include something like that when you turn in your assignment or your portfolio to your teacher as well. So this is the stopping point for lesson 7. This is a great time to stop if you are going to break this down into 4 days because it takes time, right? It takes time to conduct that investigation and it takes time to go ahead and organize and record that information from your observations. So this is a good part to stop at. And then on your 4th day, you can move on to lesson 8, and this will be the last lesson. This is when we turn in the sound portfolio. Objective. That's what we want to do. In this section, you will create a representation of sounds and vibrations. Reflect on your investigation. The last step of the scientific process is to reflect. In this step, you will think about what you have learned during your investigation. You may also think about what you will do next time. So here we are, we're on the last step, reflect. You can reflect or think about what you did. Watch this video to learn more. So if you're not sure what reflecting means, then you can watch this video and then go over these questions with your learning coach. In the video, the student drew a picture to show how sound traveled. Drawing a picture is a great way to show what you have learned. Think about what you learned about sound. What does this picture show? So look at this picture, right? I see sound waves coming out of a speaker, right? You don't always see those sound waves, but we know that that is what is being made when we hear sounds. All right, here are some more questions that you can go over with your learning coach before you begin reflecting. And when you're ready, you're going to use your science journal again. Think about what you learned. Draw a picture to show what you learned. Then complete these sentence stems. I learned that, blah, blah, blah. My picture shows, blah, blah, blah. You're going to finish those sentences yourself. So here is part of my reflection. It's not the whole thing, but here's part of it. I learned that smaller vibrations make quiet sounds, right? So they're smaller vibrations. They're not as loud. It's not as much sound energy, right? It's less sound energy. Let's go back to your lesson. You learned how to think like a scientist. You asked questions about sound. Then you used your senses. They helped you learn more about the sound and vibrations of different objects. You made a plan. Then you did it. Finally, you reflected on what you did. All right, so here's more of your reflection. You're going to think about these sentences too. I learned that, da da da. my portfolio project was da da da, the most difficult part was, or I was thinking like a scientist when I. So you're going to finish some of those sentences. You don't have to do every single one, but remember your reflection is going to include some additional information of what you thought of after you did your experiment, and it's going to show a picture. So here's the rest of my reflection. My picture shows smaller sound waves from hitting the cup gently. It says soft tap. And bigger sound waves from hitting a cup hard. So it says hard tap here. Here are those bigger sound waves. I learned that you can hit objects lightly to make quiet sounds. I was thinking like a scientist when I tested 2 cups. So remember, scientists, when they have experiments and investigations, things don't always go as planned. Sometimes they have to improve or come up with a different way to test what they're doing so they can get either the results they're looking for, or maybe they still won't get the results they're looking for and they'll have to change what they thought would happen. All right, let's look at your lesson. We're almost finished. How to organize and submit your portfolio. So here are all the pages from your science journal you need to include. You need to include your asking questions, your observations, your plans for an investigation, how you conducted your investigation. Remember, that might include drawn pictures, that might include real pictures, and you're going to reflect and answer those additional reflection questions. So you're going to have quite a bit to turn in. You're going to gather all of that, and then you're going to give it to your teacher. And I know you're going to get an amazing grade. Remember, use what materials you already have at home. And if you're missing something, but you still want to kind of know what will happen, like maybe those strumming strings on a guitar, you can always do an internet search and look for a video of someone else doing a similar experiment or a similar task so you can see what happens for yourself. All right, guys, I hope you get the very best grade. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.